These people have harsh judgment for you because they're jealous of you. You see, there are some people who have to tell themselves they're better than you simply because they know they're not. There are some people who are struggling in life. And I am not saying that as a put down to people who are struggling. I'm saying that as a put down to people who know they're struggling, know they're messy, know they're making bad decisions, but they have judgment for everybody else. See, there are some people who are jealous and envious of how you live your life. They're jealous and envious of the peace you have. They're jealous and envious of the opportunities and the decisions that you make. They wish they could be like you, and because they're not, they judge you. These people have a critique for everything that you do and everything that you say. See, when people are jealous and envious of you, they think that they can do you better than you. They think they can raise your kids better than you. They think they can do your job better than you. They think that they can live life better than you, even though their life sucks, even though their life is in the trenches, even though they are always caught up in some kind of debacle. They stay judging other people. These are normally the people who have no right to judge anyone. This is not to say that you are outside of judgment, that you're outside of criticism, but let's be real. There are some people who get a kick out of judging other people simply because they're jealous. If you're a woman who makes a lot of money, they'll say you worship money. They say that you do things for money only. They try to make it seem like you're making money your God simply because they're broke. If you look good and take care of how you look, if you take care of your health and your fitness, they'll say you're worshiping yourself simply because they don't have the same discipline or put in the same effort to have the same result. You see, lazy, insecure, jealous people, they judge you harshly because they don't do the things that you do, and because they're too lazy to do it, they walk around judging. They judge people who are trying to do the best they can. They judge people who try to step outside the box and not go along to get along. They judge people who are not seemingly those individuals who care about other people's opinion. If you are a woman who does not care about the opinions of other people and you just live your life free flowy, you depend on God and no one else, you get your direction from God, you just focus on yourself and your goals, don't be surprised if other people get jealous and envious of the fact that you don't need outside validation, that despite them judging you harshly, you're still making moves. You see, these people judge you. They judge you so harshly because they're jealous and envious of you. They are jealous of the fact that you dare to make moves that they themselves are not making. They wish they had that kind of tenacity. They wish they had that kind of faith. They wish they had that just get up and go, but they don't. They let everybody else's voice ring louder in their head than what they actually should do. But you're not like that. You're not the kind of woman that allows other people's judgments of you to stop you from living your life. And they can't stand that. And backtracking to the type of people who are normally doing all the judging, these are typically people whose life is down in the toilet. You'll get relationship advice from people who have never been able to hold down a relationship. You will get parenting advice from people who have never popped out a child. You will get fitness and health advice from someone who doesn't care about what they put into their mouth and they don't move more than what they have to. But these are typically the people who offer up so much advice, they have so much know-how, and yet they're struggling and they're suffering. See, these people like to judge other people harshly because they don't want to face their own reality. It's easier to judge other people than to look at yourself. And for some people, when they're jealous and envious of others, they refuse to take accountability for self. So they judge you and want you to feel bad for the decisions that you're making, even if those decisions are producing good results in your life. There is a time and place for judgment, and the judgment should be pure. But for some people, when they're jealous and envious, they pass judgment on everything. They see your life as a direct threat to them. It's like the way you live, how you are, and you don't have to be a woman who's accomplishing anything extravagant. You don't have to look like a beauty queen. You don't have to have the top tier status. You could be doing very basic things. But to a jealous, envious person, because they are so eager to judge you because you make them feel insecure, you make them feel uncomfortable, you shed light on their situation, they start judging you. And I'll use relationship as the first example. If you are a woman who is in a happy, healthy relationship and a woman sees you happy and thriving, she will try to convince you that spending too much time with your husband somehow makes you clingy, somehow makes you a pick-me, and you need to start going out and just doing things on your own. As true as that may be, that it's okay to have something outside of just your relationship, a woman who is jealous and envious of that, she's always judging you because she wants you to feel bad about the healthy relationship you have because she doesn't have it. Much like a person who gets jealous of the individual who has money, who has resources, who has things that they can actually enjoy, especially financially, the moment you start getting a little bit more free with how you're spending your money or spending your time, here comes the judgment. These people try to convince you that you're lazy, that somehow you're being frivolous because you're spending money on nice things, as if you didn't work or somebody didn't gift you that money. But see, they pass harsh judgment because they can't do it. I just gave the story about the woman on TikTok. She made a whole video putting down content creators and influencers and talking about how they make too much money and yada, yada, yada. And that's her opinion. But the aggression behind what she was saying and the hostility and the name calling, it showed that she was passing this judgment simply because she was jealous of the fact that she's not in the same position. You will normally be judged by the people who would like to do what you're doing, who would like to have what you have but don't. So all they know to do is just put it down and pass judgment. They're trying to get you to feel bad about your blessings. They're trying to get you to feel bad about the gifts, the skills, the talents, the things that you have acquired, simply because they don't have it. When someone envies your life and envy you to the point that they want your life to stop, that they want you to, they start wishing that you get fired. You have some people, and I hear these kind of things often, unfortunately. They're like, yeah, I liked her before she got that job. She got that job and she switched up. What do you mean? She's able to eat a little bit better? What do you mean? She's able to wear nicer clothes? What do you mean? She's able to do some things that she wasn't able to do before, and now you're bothered by that? So now you're judging this girl because she's able to live a little bit more freely because she has more resources? They pass judgment because they're jealous. Anytime you start leveling up, and this is not always the case, I want to make that disclaimer. Sometimes there is such thing in the spiritual community as righteous judgment, but there's time and place for that too. But someone who judges you the moment your situation gets better, they're a hater. People who only like you when you're down and out, those people cannot be trusted. Those people are not really your friends, and those people are not really your support system. You don't want to have people around you who can just tolerate you and like you and vibe with you when you're in the trenches, when you're going through a tough time. Yes, you need people around you when you're going through a tough time. But if those people can only be around you when you're going through it, and the moment you start doing better, they can't handle it, they start passing judgment, those people are not your people. See, if you leveling up, if you doing better, if you having more opportunities and feeling better about yourself makes other people threatened or jealous, those people were always like that. There's a thing called resentment. Sometimes people harbor resentment towards other people who are actually striving to do the things they want to do but won't. And when resentment gets deeply rooted in a person, that's when it turns into jealousy and envy. It's like they'll watch you going through the process of transformation. If you're a woman who's been through a tough time and you suddenly start coming out of that, you start feeling more confident, you start looking better, you start feeling better, you start speaking in a more confident, faith-filled tone. You have a little bit more optimism about your life and about your situation. The judgment is going to come in like a lion. These people are going to judge you on every single thing you do. And it's all because they're jealous of the fact that they're not doing it. If they were in your shoes, if they were in the same situation, they would not have the same judgments. And that's why this brings me to my next point. Sometimes people judge others when they're jealous based on their own hurts, based on their own traumas and their own programming. Some people have been brought up with a very limited understanding of what they are, of who they are, and what they can accomplish. Some people have been boxed in to believe that they can only be successful to a certain extent because of their race, because of how they look, because of where they live. All of the programming that some people have ingrained in them, it comes out in judgment and negativity and jealousy and envy towards people who don't have that same kind of programming. If you don't live life with limitations, as in you don't believe there's a cap to how much you can accomplish in life, you don't believe there's a cap on how well you can do for yourself, you don't believe there's a cap on just what you accomplish as a woman, as a person, you're going to have a problem and get jealousy and envy and judgment from people who have been programmed to believe there's only so much they can do, only so much they can be. And if you don't subscribe to that, you're going to constantly clash with people who are jealous and envious of the fact that you don't allow other people to limit you, even with their judgments. When people see that you're doing well and that you're happy, some people get very bitter and very sour towards you simply because they're not. And it's not that you do things and flaunt things in people's face, because I am not an advocate for that. I'm not an advocate for kicking people while they're down. But I'm also not an advocate for a woman holding herself back and acting like she's nothing in order to make other people feel comfortable. See, people who judge you harshly and you always feel like you kind of have to tiptoe around their emotions, around their feelings. You really can't talk about certain things too much because it makes them uncomfortable. Talking about wealth and success and business and doing better and, not constantly being controlled by other people, wanting to do your own thing. People have been programmed to believe that they can only accomplish certain things. Hearing you speak that way makes them very jealous. It triggers them to envy. It makes them feel very insecure because they still have limitations over their mind, and they start judging you. They ask you things like, is that really necessary? Or do you really think you need all of that? Or why would you want to be a millionaire? Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to have that? Like, do you really need all of that? People who talk that way often, in my opinion, and judge others because they want more for themselves, again, it comes back to those limitations. And you really can't afford to be around people who try to place limitations on you because they are insecure. That's a form of projecting. So when you don't subscribe to those same limitations that they do, they get jealous and envious of you. And their favorite word for a person, especially when they're trying to cast judgment on other people simply because they're jealous, they start calling you delusional. They say you're being a little delulu. You're not being realistic. The way you're talking as if you're this person or that person, or who do you think you are? That is like the top number one question of a jealous, envious person. Who do you think you are? That's a little bit delusional, don't you think? That's a little bit unrealistic, don't you think? See, they cast judgment on you because they're scared. They're scared and they're limited, and they've allowed other people to tell them who and what to do other than just doing what they want to do. But you don't do that, so they judge you. You will never be judged harsher from someone other than a person who wants to do what you're doing, but is too afraid to do it. See, when you are trying to level up and move forward in life, you can't afford to be around people who have all of these guardrails and limits and things in place. I am not talking about spiritual guardrails. I am not talking about moral guardrails. I am talking about fear of other people's opinions. Leveled up, wise, confident women do not live their lives based on other people's opinions. Now, disclaimer, if you're a woman who has class, who has grace, if you have a moral compass and spirituality, then you are a woman who is not doing things that warrant somebody to justifiably judge you. But see, some people, they see you with all your class, all your grace, all your morality, your boundaries, your standards, and they get triggered by that, and they say it's unrealistic. How can you be this, how can I say it? Some people, they even judge you when they're jealous. They say, oh, you're not classy, you're not gracious, you're being fake. All because they see you being the opposite of what they are. It's a whole lot of programming, especially when women get jealous of other women and start judging. It's all because they wish they could mimic that character. They wish they could have those traits. They wish they had those opportunities. And because they don't, they judge you for it. It just comes with the territory. These people judge you harshly because they wish they were doing what you did, but they can't. Or they tell themselves they can't. They live with limitations based on other people's opinions, and you don't, and that triggers them. Like and subscribe to the channel and share this content. Hit the notification bell so that you're aware when I post a brand new video. If you watch this video until the very end, put the high heel emoji in the comment section. I absolutely love to see it. Take care.